Hey, what's going on, fantasy fans? This is Mitchell with FF Real Talk, and we're through 7 weeks of the NFL season, 7 weeks of the fantasy season. And at this point in the season, you pretty much know who are the top dogs in your league. You're knowing who's got those teams that are solidified and looking like they're going to be edging into the playoffs, or those teams that are so injury bitten that their chances are done, or just haven't done well thus far and their chances are done. But don't give up. Continue to play regardless of your position. I never like those who give up, even though, let's say, they're like 2-5 now or whatever. If you quit, I mean, that's just bad for the spirit of the game. So whatever position you're in, start your rosters regardless. That's just good etiquette and good fantasy gameplay regardless. You don't want to give matchups away. Try your best. But I digress. This was one of the weeks where I had probably my worst fantasy outing overall this past week of this season, for sure, maybe in the last couple of years. I lost almost every matchup I'm in all the leagues that I'm in. I won a few, but I lost a lot of the important ones, and I lost all of everything pretty much in daily fantasy. I never talk about that much on here. I play daily fantasy on DraftKings, and this is the first week of this season that I didn't cash, and it's just a bad week for me all the way around. But anyway, no more about that. We're on to the reason y'all watching. That's to see who you should be grabbing off the waiver wire this week going forward. And the number one pick is Jacquizz Rodgers. And I don't know why. I'm looking at my video last week. I'm looking at the write-up of the people I had. And I don't know why I left him off the list. I'm not sure, but he would have been high on top of it, if not the number one pick. But anyway, Jacquizz Rodgers. There's not much more you need to say. 26 carries for 154 yards. And with Doug Martin being who he is in terms of injury prone and not very trustworthy, even when he's there, because you never really know, because I'm still stuck on that first year that he had. It was good. And that second year where he wasn't really anything. And the year after that where he was just fair to middling. He still has left a sour taste in my mouth, his play. So Jacquizz Rodgers, he's been doing it big ever since Martin has been out, and much better than you would have expected. So he's the guy that you want to have, and this is that point. This is going to be the last week you have to get him. So if he's available in your league, grab him ASAP. The number two pick is Donte Moncrief. It's just as simple as this. One of the players you drafted early, within the first 5-6 rounds, is back and practicing. That's all you need to hear. He got cut by a lot of teams, cut down to below the 60% ownership threshold. Now's that time to get on top of a top-notch receiver if he's going to be getting back into game playing. And that's not, if not this week, it's definitely going to be next week. And when that happens, that's going to improve the stock of T.Y. Hilton. It's going to improve the stock of Jack Doyle, and going to improve the stock of Andrew Luck. Donte Moncrief needs to be back fully owned like he was. Make sure you grab him. Number 3, Ty Montgomery. Great week last week. 9-60 rushing, 10-66 receiving. And this is the beauty part. Most of what I talk about is ESPN leagues. I don't know how it is on Yahoo leagues. I don't know how it is on NFL.com leagues. But Ty Montgomery has this week been given running back, wide receiver eligibility, so he can be played in one of both spots. That makes him immeasurably invaluable. That makes him like basketball value, where you got players like LeBron, who's small forward and power forward. He never has to not be used. And this guy, that's just rare. The last time I've seen that is with players like Dexter McCluster. I can't even think of anybody else in recent times that's had that. But this is a guy you want to have, and it looks like they're going to be using him, because with Lacey out and with the way Aaron Rodgers is playing right now, it seems like Montgomery is firmly entrenched in the landscape of the Packers. So make sure you get him. Number 4 is another Packer, DeVante Adams. The Packers are turning into the New Orleans Saints in that you never know who's going to be fed the wealth, who's going to be the guy that goes off. Jordy might have a big game, then he has nothing. Same for Randall Cobb. You saw Devontae Adams this past week have a career night with 13 catches for 132 yards. Will he keep it up? Who knows with the way Aaron Rodgers is playing, and who knows with the way Devontae Adams can be iffy. But at this point in the season, you know what time it is. It isn't anybody out there that's a sure thing, and it isn't anybody who doesn't have some stains on their situation. So you definitely want to add for upside and probability or possibility. And Devontae Adams provides both upside and possibility. So if you're in need for a wide receiver, that's somebody I'd grab if Moncrief and Ty Montgomery aren't available. Number 5, Mike Gillislee. This caught us off guard last week. We were thinking McCoy was good, and then we heard about Wednesday that McCoy was probably not going to play. Well, we had thought McCoy possibly wouldn't play rather early, and then we heard that Gillislee would be probably starting, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever. Then all of a sudden Saturday night hit, and then we got hit with the whole McCoy's probably going to try to play, and he paid the price for it. Rex Ryan needs to stop thinking about saving his job and thinking about doing his job. And playing McCoy was the stupidest thing in the world. We could see it coming that he was going to re-injure it, and he did. Maybe they'll bench him this week and do what they're supposed to do and let him heal up, and we'll see where Gillislee goes. But that's somebody you want to own for sure. This is a guy who spells for McCoy well when he gets gameplay, and I think he'll do the same thing going forward. And with hamstring injuries, it's always iffy. So if you're a McCoy owner, you definitely want to have Gillislee. If not, you still want to, because again, we're just throwing darts now to try to get somebody who will give us something during these crazy bye weeks that are up and coming. And their bye week is on the horizon on week 10. So it's somebody you definitely want to have to spell these other bye weeks. Number 6, Matt Asiata. It's sort of similar to the situation that I've mentioned before, injury being the reason. As of now, McKinnon's expected to be okay, but whenever Asiata is asked to fill in, whether it was for Adrian Peterson or whether it was when McKinnon was hurt or not playing well, he always does so respectably. Though he's more of a goal line guy, he can rumble out there when given the chance. And again, this is all about when the wire is thin. Asiata needs to be owned as an injury insurance upside player alone. So that's a guy you want to target too. Next is Devontae Booker. This seems like deja vu, doesn't it? C.J. Anderson owners having to worry about the guy behind him jumping in front of him. It happened for 2 straight years with Ronnie Hillman. And is this just saying that CJ isn't who we want him to be? I kind of think so. Well, here we have the sequel, and this time it's starring Devontae Booker. He's averaging 4.8 yards a carry, and that's quite solid. And it's something that, can continue to, it looks like it can continue because he seems to be a solid runner, and he runs with power and force and authority with his style. He just had in this week with C.J. Anderson not really hurt or anything, 17 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown. Is that coincidence? I don't think so. Is it a change in the guard? I don't know if it's that high, but we'll see. One thing's for sure, all C.J. Anderson owners need to have Booker. That's a clear thing. And the next goes for another situation with someone who owns a player. Carey. Damn, man. I thought we had it with Jeremy Langford coming into the season. Now, we can't talk about injury, but before the injury, Langford wasn't looking good, and then Howard took over. Now, in the past couple weeks, Howard hasn't looked good, and Kadeem Carey's been a better runner. And this past week, he just took completely over, and Howard is basically about to be relegated to the bench in fantasy and in real life. Carey's a better pass catcher, and he's widely available out there. This is going to be a guy that you probably got a good chance of grabbing because he's very low owned. So, again, solid running back that you want to grab for the fact that Howard hadn't even nailed down the spot. He had only had 2 good weeks, and so now is Kadeem Carey. So right now, they're neck and neck. Neither is better than the other. So taking a shot in the dark, you might want to grab Kadeem Carey, especially if you're a Howard owner. Next is Jack Doyle. This one here is this was a pretty standard grab. It should have been in my list last week. I don't think I mentioned him. With Dwayne Allen going out, and even when Dwayne Allen was in, Jack Doyle was getting some good run. 2 straight weeks without him, 2 straight weeks of 50 or more yards and a touchdown. And with the return of Moncrief, which I just mentioned, this is going to make his goal line possibilities even higher because the attention won't be so centralized. Everything's going to get spread out, and that makes Jack Doyle even more dangerous. This is a tight end that I definitely would want to have going forward because he's got the prospects, as long as Dwayne Allen is out, he's got the prospects of being an every week start. And that's rare when you have that this time of year. So if you're in a need for a tight end, and most of us can use an upgrade in that position, especially this time of year, Jack Doyle is someone you want to own. And last but not least is Alfred Blue. If you've ever played fantasy football before this season and you played like the past few years, you've heard of Alfred Blue. Hell, you've probably owned Alfred Blue at some point. Why? 2 words. Arian Foster, which I have to, stop for a second and say 2 things about the retirement. Initially, I was kind of like, man, you gonna let somebody run your ass out of the league? Jay Ajayi came and rumbled for 200 plus yards again. That shocked you so much knowing you wouldn't get a chance that you quit. I was kind of a little bitter about that at first, but then I thought about it. This is a guy that's been a great contributor for many years. And when you know it's your time to go, and even if it's the middle of the season, which that's the part I have a problem with, quitting in the middle of the season. But when you know you got to go, you got to go. And I'm a big fan of the player in Arian Foster and the man. He's one of those thoughtful guys. He's one of those guys that ain't afraid to stand up for what he believes in. So I just want to wish him the best in his retirement. If it's for real and if it's solid, I wish him nothing but the best going forward. Anyway, it took a little too long. But Arian Foster has made anybody who's owned Alfred Blue the reason why. Arian Foster was always hurt. He's had to step in for him many times, and he's provided a decent lift. I don't know where all the hate has been on Alfred Blue, because whenever he has the chance to go, he's very solid. Now that Lamar Miller's banged up, he might be playing this week. I don't know for sure. We'll see. But all Miller owners need to own Alfred Blue for sure this week. And anybody playing against Miller's owner might want to be the guy blocking them, because Alfred Blue is going to have a nice play this week if he plays against the Detroit defense. So, again, all Miller owners, make sure you target Alfred Blue. But that's the end of the list for this week. If you have any questions, you know the name of the game, you know the situation. Hit me on Twitter for the best possible, not chance, but the best timing in a response. If you want to write here, I'll get to it when I can, and I'll be speaking to you next time. All right, y'all have a good one.